Hey guys, I'm Mike. I'm an HR professor at the Ted Rogers School of Management. In weekly videos, I talk about my old HR exam questions and their solutions to help you succeed in HR. Now, if you are an HR student or will be soon, or you just have a big HR exam coming up, then hit subscribe, smash like, make sure notification tab is turned on, and check out my weekly videos. In this week's video, I'm going to be talking about performance management. I'm going to talk about two old exam questions and give you the template for how to solve them. So, let's go. All right, guys, let's take a dive into these first two questions. The only two questions I'm going to talk about. All right, I'm leaving it here. Both questions are on the screen if you want to pause it. Work on the questions on your own. Okay, let's take a quick look at them in more detail. So you are a manager at a small retail store. Several of your employees constantly arrive late and treat your customers poorly. Okay, so a particular type of performance we're going to be talking about. You're considering performance managing them. Please identify and explain 3 performance appraisal methods. Okay, this is really completely irrelevant from the beginning of the case, or this little mini part. You're just simply identifying 3 and explaining them. 2 marks, 1 mark for identifying, 1 mark for explaining, 6 marks when delivering feedback. Okay, this question has nothing to do with you working in a small retail store. Hamburger technique, good, bad, good. Pretty straightforward, it's simple. All right, let's make sure I didn't mess this up. I didn't mess this up when thinking about this right now. Okay, so 3 performance appraisal methods, the graphic rating scale. So graphic rating scale, here's the definition straight from the textbook. Okay, you have a person's name at the top, you have some behaviors or characteristics along the side, and you're evaluating them typically on a 5-point Likert scale. How are you doing in terms of communication, communication, oral, written communication, attendance, engagement, whatever the characteristics you're concerned about. Alternation ranking, where you have 1 trait at the top and you rank employees from high to low. So you're having all your employees on this list. You can really identify the top and the lowest ranked individual. Paired comparison, I don't really like this one, but it's another option. Here's a definition. Forced distribution. There you go. You're putting everybody on a normal curve, and you're ranking people into different percentiles. Right? Typically, you reward the high performers with either a gigantic raise or a promotion. Typically, you punish, or I guess punish is really a good word, discipline the low performers with either a termination or a 0 raise. Critical incident method, I think of this as like you're keeping a diary, right? You're keeping a track of like unreasonably bad behaviors or incredibly positive or good behaviors in the organization. For the particular employee, you're keeping a diary saying, hey, based on this date, here's the exact behavior that you did. It provides a huge amount of context. It's very rich information. It's very helpful for when you're trying to provide feedback. Okay, there we go. When you're delivering feedback, how can you use what type of hamburger feedback technique, and why is it helpful? Okay, so this is the good, bad, good. This is kind of a shitty question. Sorry, it's kind of a lousy question. It's a completely disconnect. Okay, so what is it? It's positive feedback is the top, the good bun, right? Then critical or direct feedback is the middle piece, the meat, and then good feedback on the end. When you're providing this good feedback up front, it makes people more open. It helps them listen to the next part, because you're thinking, okay, I know bad feedback's coming, but hey, the person doesn't think I'm that bad to begin with. They're giving me some good feedback. Then you're more open to listening a little bit more. And when you're listening a little bit more, then it's like, okay, well, what's the real feedback? And they give you this real feedback, and then you're like, okay, well, there it is. I've got the feedback I need to learn about. I'm kind of a little bit depressed because I just got this negative feedback given to me, but I still got good feedback at the beginning, and then you always leave with good feedback at the end, so the person's more likely to return, right? So good, critical, and then good at the end. I'm criticizing myself for this particular question. I'm kind of upset with myself that I asked that question. I should have said what 3 appraisal techniques would be most fitting for a small retailer store or something like that. When delivering this hamburger feedback, which of these performance appraisal methods would be best for providing hamburger feedback? That would have tied the question in together. It would have been a little bit more challenging. Would have provided a little more thought. That's what I should have done. And the answer to that question, which performance appraisal is most fitting for hamburger feedback, would have been the critical incident method, because it really provides that rich context that you can deliver in terms of providing that critical feedback. Okay. Plus, it's the only performance appraisal. Well, that's not the only performance appraisal, but it also shows you unreasonably or uncommonly good and bad, right? So there's your top bun, bottom bun. That's what I should have said. In the future, that is what I'm going to say. Okay, question 2. You're a manager for a department within the Canadian government. Okay, unionized environment. Let's see whether that matters. Several of your employees are underperformers and frequently come to work late. Well, that's not good. You think you need to performance manage these employees to improve their performance. Okay, please identify the steps you take to manage performance. Okay. So I think this is just simply asking for the steps in the performance management process. Okay, there's 5 steps. I don't know why there's 4 marks, but step 3. Okay, well that indicates that step A is just simply listing the steps. I even say the steps, right? I guess I explained that. Step 3 is about conducting performance appraisal methods, right? So based on the 3, the other question, that's what we're looking for. Graphic rating scale. Oh, there we go. You're considering using. Please explain both these methods. Okay, well I showed that in the previous example, but I'll talk about this again. Which of these methods would you use and why? Okay, so there we go. This is at least some application style question to say, hey, we've explained both of those. Which would you use based on this particular context? Okay, there we go. That's a much better question. Forces you to actually think about it. Okay, so defining the steps. Okay, so part A, define the steps. There you go, based on the textbook. I even gave you the page number. I'm using a new textbook now, but that's what it was. Again, one of the things, broader thought, is if somebody talks about steps, you have to use the steps for that particular textbook. If you're looking at an old exam review, such as this, and I give you a set of steps, right, in the solutions, those steps may or may not align directly with the steps shown in your textbook. So use the steps that are taught in your class, in your textbook. Part B, step 3, so explain both of these. Yeah, I explained both of them a little bit earlier. Critical incident provides the context. Graphic rating scale is that. Which of these 2 methods would you use and why? I said you can use either. It really depends on the context, how you explain yourself. I think that's valid, but I think it makes more sense to use a critical incident method because of the context of the end of performance. They're more likely to learn from specific examples than a lower score. So for me personally, I think, perhaps speaking of like the hamburger method when you're delivering that feedback, because you're providing richness. So if somebody's an underperformer and you simply say you're an underperformer and you have a score and you're like a 2 out of 5, that doesn't really provide you a lot of feedback in terms of growth. If you're really truly trying to provide feedback and trying to help people grow, then you want to provide specific examples, something that they can latch onto. So for me, critical incident method when you're providing feedback is the way to go. All right, guys, that's it. That is my video on performance management. If you found this video helpful or want to learn more tips on how to succeed in HR exam questions in the future, hit subscribe, smash like, make sure the notification tab is turned on, and check out my videos. Until next week, take care.